Beloved soul, have you ever wondered if anyone truly sees you, not just your face, not just your name, but your essence? Have you ever whispered in the dark, does anyone really understand what I'm carrying inside? You wear masks, you perform, you strive, and yet, somewhere deep down, there's a silent ache to be known, without having to explain yourself. What if I told you, you've never been invisible, not even for a second, that before a thought crosses your mind, before your voice speaks a single word, before you take your next breath, you are already fully known, completely understood, and eternally loved. Psalm 139 is not a poem. It is a portal, a spiritual key to unlock the greatest truth of your existence. You are divinely known, not vaguely observed. You were not created to be lost in the crowd of humanity. You are not an echo in a world of noise. You are a voice. When the psalmist says, "O Lord, you have searched me and known me," it is not the language of distance. It is the voice of intimacy. You are divinely known, thoroughly, profoundly, eternally, not vaguely observed from some remote celestial tower, but fully embraced by an all-knowing presence that dwells within you and around you. This divine knowing is not surveillance, it is soul contact. It is not a cosmic recording, it is spiritual communion. You are not data in some divine archive. You are not a case to be analyzed. You are a being to be loved. The infinite mind does not study you as a subject. It recognizes you as its own emanation. You are seen in layers, known in depth, cherished in fullness. You've never had a thought that bypassed the knowing of God. Never felt a tear that He didn't feel with you. Never sat in silence without divine awareness sitting beside you. He doesn't discover your emotions. He discerns them before you do. He doesn't need to be told who you are. He authored who you are. This knowledge goes beyond your surface personality. It pierces through the masks you wear, the roles you play, the fears you hide. It sees beyond the temporary identities you've adopted: student, parent, achiever, struggler, and beholds the eternal you, the spiritual being, the divine essence, the soul made in the image of the Creator. To be divinely known is to live in a state of spiritual transparency, yet without shame. Nothing in you shocks God. Nothing in you disqualifies you from divine affection. Every flaw, every strength, every wound, every longing, He sees them not as defects to be judged, but as sacred places to be healed and honored. Most people live their lives desperate to be understood. But Psalm 39 whispers a deeper truth. You already are. Before your parents ever heard your first cry, before a friend ever heard your story, the Infinite had already seen the arc of your existence and called it good. You don't need to over-explain yourself to be accepted. You don't need to earn being seen. You are already profoundly visible in the light of divine mind, and this divine knowing does not fade with time. People forget. People misinterpret. People project, but God never loses clarity when it comes to you. He doesn't misread your motives. He doesn't get confused by your contradictions. Where others see inconsistency, He sees the unfolding of a sacred design. To live in the light of this knowledge is to walk without the fear of being misunderstood. It is to rest in the unshakable assurance that you are known beyond performance, beyond mistakes, beyond your past. You are not waiting to be discovered. You are living in the gaze of the everlasting. This is not theoretical. It is transformational. When you truly understand that you are divinely known, your relationship with yourself changes. You stop judging yourself so harshly. You stop performing for approval. You stop shrinking to fit someone else's understanding. You begin to walk in alignment with how God already sees you. You begin to speak with boldness, love with openness, and dream without apology. You don't need to beg for recognition from the world when you've already been recognized by the Creator of all worlds. You are divinely known, not vaguely observed. You are held in mind by a consciousness that cannot forget you, will not forsake you, and never questions your value. God's knowledge of you is intimate, not intrusive. There is a sacred difference between being watched and being known. There's a reason Psalm 139 doesn't say, "You observe me from afar." It says, "You hem me in behind and before. You lay your hand upon me." This is not the language of invasion. It is the expression of intimate nearness. In human terms, we fear being known too closely. We fear judgment, exposure, betrayal. But divine intimacy is never invasive. God's knowledge of you does not crowd your spirit. It expands your peace. It doesn't violate your freedom. It secures it. His knowing is not a spotlight to expose your faults. It's a lamp to illuminate your wholeness. When divine intelligence knows you, it does not cross boundaries. It upholds them. He knows the places you guard, not to push past them, but to stand watch over them. He knows your hidden wounds, not to shame you, but to heal you. He knows your past, not to chain you to it, but to redeem it with grace. This intimate knowledge is the highest form of love. It is not based on what you show. It flows from what you are. He doesn't require performance. He doesn't love your image. He loves your essence. He knows your patterns, your tendencies, your soul weather. And still, he is not repelled. He draws closer. Where the world says, "You're too much," God says, "I've seen it all, and I remain." Where others may use what they know about you against you, the divine uses what he knows to restore you. This intimacy becomes a spiritual sanctuary. It is the only place where you are utterly exposed and utterly safe at the same time. There is no pretending here, no makeup for the soul, no filters for the spirit. In the light of God's intimate knowledge, there is freedom. You can breathe again. You can lay down the armor. You can come home to yourself. The Hebrew understanding of know in Scripture implies a deep personal experiential connection. This is not head knowledge. It is heart communion. It's the kind of knowing that nurtures, not the kind that scrutinizes. The kind that says, "I see where you've been. I know where you're going. And I love you in both places." When the psalmist says, "Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain," he's not talking about technical data. He's speaking of being saturated with awe, of being overwhelmed by a love so intimate that it transcends human logic. This kind of knowledge wraps itself around your insecurities and transforms them into trust. It is the answer to your hidden fears. What if they knew the real me? God does, and he's never left. His nearness is not surveillance, it's sustenance. His knowledge is not a cage, it's a compass. He doesn't invade your privacy. He enters your pain, your dreams, your fears, your hopes, with holy tenderness. When you grasp this, something inside you shifts. You stop resisting the gaze of God. You stop hiding in the shadows of guilt. You stop running from your own reflection. You begin to walk with your soul upright, your spirit open. You begin to commune with the one who doesn't pry but invites, who doesn't interrogate but embraces, who doesn't demand you to open the door because he never left the room. Your life is not random. It's a deliberate design. There is no such thing as a spiritual accident. No such thing as a meaningless soul. You were not born because two people met. You were born because divine intelligence conceived you in its eternal vision. Your existence is not the product of chance, but the result of cosmic precision. Psalm 39 does not whisper uncertainty. It roars divine intentionality. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Before time ticked into motion, before stars were suspended in space, before earth bore fruit, your being was known in the infinite blueprint of spirit. You were not merely placed, you were purposed. You were not flung into existence, you were formed. The same source that structured the galaxies shaped your soul. The God who designed gravity and orchestrated the dance of the planets also wrote the rhythm of your life. Randomness is a vocabulary of a mind disconnected from source. But when you awaken to spiritual awareness, you begin to see that every chapter of your life carries meaning, even the pages you wish you could tear out. There is nothing haphazard in the divine economy. What looks like delay may be preparation. What feels like failure may be redirection. What appears to be loss may be pruning for deeper growth. Your life is layered with divine architecture, from your personality to your preferences, from your wounds to your wisdom. Nothing in you is wasted. God does not mass-produce souls. He tailors them. You are custom crafted, not in physical form alone, but in essence. Your voice, your heart, your spiritual wiring, all designed with unique intentionality. Even the environment you were born into, the struggles you endured, the culture that shaped you, these were all permitted to form the crucible of your calling. Nothing was random. Nothing was meaningless. Your journey, with all its detours and deserts, was already known, already woven into the fabric of divine purpose. When the psalmist says, "You created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb," he is not describing a mechanical assembly. He is pointing to the intimate, deliberate, loving act of divine craftsmanship. To be knit together implies careful, deliberate attention. Every fiber of your soul was chosen. Every strand of thought and emotion, every inner longing and hidden strength was stitched together with care. The world may label you based on externals, success, appearance, status, but heaven recognizes the divine pattern beneath it all. The world asks what you do. Spirit sees what you carry, and what you carry is not the product of mere effort. It is the evidence of divine design. You were not made to conform. You were made to reveal. Your life is a living manuscript written by infinite intelligence. Every season is a sentence. Every breakthrough a paragraph. Every encounter a punctuation mark in the sacred narrative of your soul. And the author never loses the plot, even when you feel lost, even when the chapter seems dark. The pen is still in the hand of the divine. This awareness shifts how you move through life. When you believe your life is random, you panic when things fall apart. But when you understand you're living inside divine design, you begin to trust the process. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop fearing the unknown. You recognize that even unanswered prayers are part of a higher orchestration. Even delays are deliberate when guided by omniscience. You may not see the pattern now, but purpose does not require your full understanding to be real. The seed doesn't see the tree within itself, yet the design is already complete. So it is with you. Every desire, every talent, every trial is a thread in a tapestry that only the divine can fully see. Your life is not the result of human circumstances. It is the unfolding of spiritual intelligence in motion. And this design isn't static. It responds to your choices, your prayers, your intentions. The designer is not distant. He's dynamic. He doesn't just watch the blueprint. He walks with you through it. You co-author your experience. But the divine imprint never fades. The path may curve, but the purpose remains. When you begin to meditate on this truth, your identity strengthens. You no longer need to chase validation. You begin to carry it. You no longer compete. You contribute. You no longer grasp for meaning. You live from it, because you realize you're not here to replicate. You're here to radiate. Your very presence is a solution to a spiritual need on this planet. You are an answer that was formed before the question appeared. The deliberate design of your life also means that restoration is always possible, because what is divinely designed cannot be permanent and damaged. You may feel broken, but you are not beyond repair. The same hands that formed you still hold you. The same intelligence that structured your spirit can restructure your story. And what about the detours, the regrets, the wounds that seem too deep? Even these are woven into a deeper redemption. The cracks in your story become windows for the light to shine through. The very places you thought disqualified you become altars of compassion, humility, and strength. So take a breath. Release the fear that says you must control everything. You were never called to control the design, only to cooperate with it. You don't need to see the whole pattern to trust the weaver. Your life is not random. It is a deliberate design drawn with sacred intent, unfolding with infinite care, and destined to manifest the glory of the one who created you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made on purpose. There is a power in those words that most have heard but few have absorbed. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. This is not ego. It is revelation. It is not arrogance. It is alignment. The one who speaks those words in Psalm 139 is not boasting. They are bowing before the awe of divine craftsmanship, bowing before the mystery of being fashioned by hands unseen. To be fearfully made means that your creation inspired reverence. It means that even the angels paused in holy silence as the infinite shaped your soul. It means you are made with sacred care, with eternal precision, with spiritual intentionality so profound it surpasses human comprehension. And to be wonderfully made means you are not stamped out of a mold. You are not duplicated, copied, or constructed on a cosmic assembly line. You are made in wonder. You are a walking miracle. Every part of you, from your spirit to your soul to your cells, is an expression of divine genius. Your body is not a burden. It is a temple. Your mind is not just machinery. It is a portal of divine thought. Your heart is not a random pump. It is the seat of sacred emotion and divine intuition. Your talents are not mere skills. They are sparks of God-given brilliance, uniquely placed within you. You are not missing anything. You are not lacking essential parts. Everything you need to fulfill your spiritual purpose is already within you, and what you think you lack, grace will supply when the time is right. Most people live from a deficit model of themselves. For themselves, they count what they don't have. They fixate on what's wrong. They compare themselves to others and shrink inside their own perception. But Psalm 39 reminds you that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Not partially, not hopefully, not barely, but completely. You don't need to become worthy. You were born worthy. To say on purpose is to reject the lie of insignificance. It is to declare that you were designed by love for love, through love. It is to step into the realization that you are an intentional act of divine creativity, that every strand of your identity, every twist in your journey, every note in your voice, every frequency of your soul is part of a sacred song composed by the Creator Himself. Even your imperfections play a role. Even your struggles serve a purpose. For in the divine design, nothing is wasted. What you perceive as flaws may be features that unlock empathy, resilience, and deeper connection with others. You are not just a masterpiece. You are also a work in progress. And both truths can exist in harmony. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Not someday. Not when you're better. Not once you've healed. Now. In this moment. As you are. Because your worth is not tied to your condition. It is rooted in your creation. Divine intelligence perceives your thoughts before you think them. Before a thought ever crystallizes in your mind. Before an intention rises from the depths of your consciousness. Before a word forms upon your tongue. Divine intelligence has already perceived it in its purest seed form. This is not surveillance. It is sacred omniscience. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. These words from Psalm 39 do not describe a passive awareness. They describe an active, loving presence that dwells within the very fabric of your mind. Thought is not random. It is energy. It is vibration. It is the first stage of creation, and in the realm of the spirit, nothing is hidden, nothing is veiled, nothing is isolated. Your thoughts are not private echoes. They are spiritual frequencies, instantly known to the infinite. Divine mind doesn't wait for your speech to know your heart. It senses the root of every idea, the intention behind every desire, the emotion beneath every decision. God doesn't merely read your mind. He knows its movements, like a composer knows his own melody. He doesn't guess your motives. He recognizes their origin. He doesn't analyze your thoughts like a scientist dissects data. He beholds them as part of the living field of consciousness that flows directly from his own being. You see, your mind is not separate from the source. It is an expression of it. The very ability to think, to imagine, to ponder, to question. These are sacred capacities, gifted to you by the one who thinks through you. You are not a thinker apart from God. You are a thinker in God. Therefore your thoughts are never foreign to the divine. They arise within a spiritual atmosphere that is already infused with awareness, already held within divine perception. This changes everything. And you are never misunderstood by God, never misread, never misinterpreted. The world may confuse your actions. People may assign meanings to your silence or distort your intentions, but God knows the essence. He knows what you meant before you could articulate it. He knows the wound beneath your anger, the fear beneath your hesitation, the hope beneath your quiet prayers. Even when your thoughts are tangled, even when your mind is foggy and uncertain, divine intelligence is clear. God doesn't wait for your thoughts to be perfect before receiving them. He takes them as they are, in real time, raw and unrehearsed. He doesn't flinch at your confusion. He doesn't retreat from your doubt. He doesn't condemn the chaotic threads in your mind. He meets them with understanding and gently rewires them into harmony. This divine perception is not passive. It is creative. When God perceives your thoughts, He doesn't merely register them. He works with them. He aligns them, redirects them, empowers them. The moment you think, I desire healing, even before the sentence finishes in your head, divine power has already begun responding. When you long for peace, when you reach for clarity, when you yearn for strength, those thoughts do not rise into emptiness. They rise into divine receptivity. This is why prayer is not a monologue. It is a tuning in, a spiritual aligning. God has already heard your prayer before you open your mouth. Not because you are predictable, but because you are intimately known. Prayer, then, is not informing God. It is agreeing with God. It is your conscious mind aligning with the greater mind that already understands your needs, already sees your destiny, already holds the path ahead. And if God perceives your thoughts, then He also perceives your potential. He sees beyond the surface impulses. He sees the undeveloped brilliance within you. He sees the vision behind your vague longings. When you think, there must be more, He sees the more you were born for. When you think, I want to grow, He sees the version of you that is already complete in the Spirit. Divine perception is not limited by time. God doesn't just know what you're thinking now. He sees the trajectory of your thought life, the evolution of your consciousness, the unfolding of your spiritual awareness. This is why surrendering your thoughts to God is not weakness. It is wisdom, because He sees where your thoughts lead. He knows which thoughts will bring life and which will drain you. He knows when your thoughts are based on truth and when they are shaped by fear, trauma, or illusion. And in His love, He is always guiding you back to clarity. You are not at the mercy of your thoughts. You are not trapped by mental patterns that no longer serve you. You are not alone in the maze of your mind. Divine intelligence walks with you through every corridor. There is no inner dialogue that is foreign to Him. Even the thoughts you're ashamed of, He knows them and He loves you still. Even the thoughts you suppress, He perceives them, not to punish, but to heal. Let this bring peace to your mind, that it's still a storm of overthinking. You do not have to figure it all out. You do not have to perform for God mentally. You can rest in the knowledge that your every thought is known, your every intention is seen, your every inner struggle is met with grace. Divine intelligence perceives your thoughts before you think them, not to control but to companion you on the sacred journey of transformation. You cannot outrun God's presence. It surrounds you. There is nowhere you can go where Spirit is not already present. There is no space so distant, no emotion so dark, no situation so complex that it excludes the divine. Psalm 139 proclaims, "Where can I go from your Spirit? Where can I flee from your presence?" This is not a question of fear. It is a revelation of comfort. It is the soul awakening to the fact that the presence of God is not a place. It is the atmosphere of existence itself. You cannot outrun what you are made of. You were not created outside of God and then placed into life. You were spoken into existence from the breath of the divine. His presence is not a cloud that descends when you're good and disappears when you're not. It is a field that never leaves, a light that never switches off, a spiritual current in which you live, move, and have your being. You may feel far from God, but feelings are not facts in the spiritual realm. Divine presence is not a mood, it is a law. You cannot be abandoned by the one who indwells you. The moment you feel furthest away is often the moment you're being held most closely. Your tears do not fall alone. Your silence does not echo in emptiness. Your wandering does not disqualify you from being found. This is why running from God never leads to isolation. It leads to encounter. Even when you resist, even when you rebel, even when you sink to what you believe is the bottom, Spirit is already there, not to scold, but to save. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. Even in the places you try to hide emotionally, mentally, spiritually, God does not knock at the door from the outside. He whispers from within. You cannot flee from your source because your source is not external. Divine presence is not just above you. It is within you. It is not just beside you. It is part of you. Your body is the vessel, but spirit is the electricity. You can try to mute the awareness, but you cannot erase the connection. Like a radio always tuned to the signal of the divine, you are constantly surrounded by and resonating with the presence of God, whether you feel it or not. This sacred omnipresence is not merely observation, it is participation. Tangents. God is not an observer of your life story. He is the ink that writes each page, the breath that turns each chapter. His presence is the soil in which your soul roots itself. And just as the tree cannot separate itself from the earth that holds it, you cannot separate yourself from the presence that sustains you. There is no altitude too high for God to meet you. If I ascend to the heavens, you are there. The peak of success, in the glory of your greatest breakthroughs, He is there, not as a reward, but as your ever-present source. And if you descend into confusion, failure, despair, He is not absent. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. Even when you lie down in doubt, you lie down in God. Even when you feel buried, you are buried in the presence that will raise you. This changes your relationship with solitude. You are never truly alone. Loneliness is a human perception, not a spiritual truth. The room may be empty. The phone may be silent. The world may seem distant, but you are not abandoned. Divine presence is not limited by walls or boundaries. It does not require an altar, or a choir, or a religious space. It fills the air, the silence, the void. It fills you. You may change your environment. You may relocate physically, emotionally, spiritually. But presence does not need to catch up to you. It is already there. It was there before you arrived. It waits for you, in your future, and walks beside you in your... It surrounds you not like a shadow that disappears in the dark, but like a light that shines through every dimension of your being. You are guided by the same mind that formed the stars, the same infinite intelligence that set galaxies in motion also orders the steps of your life. You are not navigating chaos. You are walking within a divine architecture. Every intuition, every sudden insight, every door that opens or closes is evidence of spiritual guidance. You are not guessing your way forward. You are being gently led by a wisdom that sees all. The stars above obey the same voice that speaks into your soul when you feel lost. It is not because you lack direction. It is because you have not yet stilled yourself to hear the guidance already present. The Creator of the cosmos has not left your path to change. You are in sync with a rhythm far more ancient than time, and far more precise than any map you could draw. The constellations were not consulted more carefully than your calling. God's awareness of you is your safest place. You are most secure not when you hide, but when you are fully seen by the divine. God's awareness is not surveillance. It is sanctuary. His knowledge of you does not expose you to harm. It shields you from the illusions of separation and fear. To be known by Him is to dwell in a refuge that no threat can breach. The world may misunderstand your heart, but He never does. In His presence, you are not on trial. You are at peace. You are not evaluated. You are embraced. Every thought, every longing, every hidden wound is met with compassion, not criticism. Divine awareness wraps around your soul like light wraps around flame. In this sacred knowing, your fears dissolve, your masks fall away, and your truest self is safe to emerge. You are not forgotten. You are divinely remembered, long before you felt overlooked by people or buried by time. You are etched into the eternal memory of God. Divine remembrance is not passive recall. It is active involvement. You are not a lost file in the cosmic system. You are a living thought in the mind of the infinite. When others forget your name, God remembers your essence. When your efforts go unseen, heaven still records them. You are not waiting to be noticed. You have already been known. Every breath you take, every prayer you whisper, is cradled in divine attention. To be divinely remembered means that you are continually held in sacred regard, never out of sight, never absent from the divine gaze. You are remembered, not as you were, or as others labeled you, but as you truly are, precious, purposeful, and profoundly loved. Being known by God is your highest identity. Your true worth is not defined by titles, achievements, or opinions. It is grounded in the fact that the infinite knows you fully. Divine knowledge is not shallow recognition. It is soul-deep understanding. You are not trying to become someone in God's eyes. You already are. Before you performed, succeeded, or failed, you are already someone in the heart of spirit. This identity is not earned. It is revealed. Being known by God lifts you above insecurity, beyond comparison, and into your sacred self. When you forget who you are, His knowing remembers for you. His recognition is the foundation of your dignity, the source of your strength, the root of your spiritual authority. You are not defined by what you've done. You are defined by the one who calls you His own. You have just walked through the sacred terrain of Psalm 139, and what you've discovered is not just theology. It is spiritual identity. You now understand that divine intelligence perceives your thoughts before they even surface, that your life is not random. It is a deliberate design of celestial precision. You were not born to search endlessly for your worth. You were formed in wonder by a wisdom that sees the end from the beginning. You've seen that you cannot outrun God's presence. It surrounds you like air, fills you like breath, and uplifts you like light. You are guided not by guesswork, but by the very mind that commands galaxies to swirl in silent harmony. You now know that His awareness of you is not a threat. It is your safest place. That being divinely remembered is not an occasional moment of favor. It is your permanent spiritual address. You are not forgotten. You are not misplaced. You are not overlooked. And the highest title you will ever carry is not CEO, not parent, not artist, not survivor, but this known by God. That is your identity. That is your foundation. That is your eternal truth. So pause, breathe. Let this knowing settle into the deepest chambers of your being. Because what the world tries to label you can never overpower the name God has already spoken over you. You are not defined by what you've done. You are defined by the one who calls you His own. If this resonated with you, and you feel your soul has been watered, then make sure to subscribe, share, and stay tuned here on Not, where your spirit is always seen, always honored, and always guided into truth.